Hello, everybody. It's Friday night and it is Weekender time once again. We have returned post-UK GE 2022. Warren, Ben, Free and myself will be guiding you through our weekly update on all things hobby throughout the industry. On top of all of the news that we have to show off, one lucky subscriber will also be in with a chance to win the Horus Heresy Age of Darkness box set and both Liber Astartes and Liber Hereticus. If you want a chance to win that from store.ontabletop.com, then you need to be a subscriber to the channel, pop a comment below, and if you can give us a like and share us around on social media as well, that always helps out. Otherwise, sit back and relax because your weekend starts here. Hello, everybody. We are back, despite our enforced absence, to bring you all the news and goodness that you come to expect from us. Warren has joined us again. Hello, Warren.
I'm totally refreshed, man. I tell you what, going to a show for us is always hard work. And this year, Jerry, me and you were like a couple of fish in a fish tank.
It was very good.
So it was like, so we sat there in the fish tank, but I've got to say, right, as hard work as it was and as annoying as it's been with the COVID situation and stuff that we've been dealing with since we got back, UK Games Expo was like food for the soul for me. It really was. You know, it was nice to be, how do I put this, back in among my people. Do you know what I mean? It was really nice to be back in among my people. What?
A big bit of gaming jerky that you could just chew away on.
Yes. Yeah, it was nice. And since coming home, we've been playing lots of games. My kids picked up games this year, which was interesting because it's the first games that have come into the house that I knew nothing about. And it was selected exclusively by them and games that they played. So they weren't picking them up just based on the cover. And they had been playing these games and then convinced Mummy to buy them. Have
you played a game yourselves of Catapult Feud now, or have you?
Catapult Feud hasn't broke out yet. Okay, we've been playing. Is it a game called Articulate? No, not Articulate. There's the one that Savannah picked anyway. And what you do is you everybody gets a card, and you have a little kind of notebook that is made with dry white paper or white paper, right? And on the card, then you roll a dice, and then on the card is a word. So you write down that word, and then everybody passes the notebooks to the next person, and then they have to draw that word.
Oh, yeah.
And then they close it and they pass it, and then the next person has to look at the drawing and then write the word. So it's like Chinese whispers, and it's great. We've been having an absolute blast with it. But I've got to say, my favorite is actually been the little game that little Max picked up. Max, whose ambition in life is to become an accountant.
So he picked the heaviest Euro game imaginable, right? No, yeah.
It's called Happy Cities.
Well, that sounds amazing.
Right.
And Happy Cities, you're it's a card-based mechanic. You're building up cities, and it's wonderful. We played it on the boat on the way home. And I was kind of dreading that. I thought to myself, this is going to be like a real 4-year-old game or something. But no, it was brilliant. And it was Maxie's totally clicked on it. And he's sitting telling me all the rules and everything else and keeping me right and giving me a wee nudge and giving me strategies as well.
Oh, wow. Okay.
If you do this, you might be able to get one of these. And it's a full-on game. You know, it's simple, but it is a full-on game. It reminded me of... What's the Civilization game, Ben, where you're building up your cards?
Seven Wonders?
It might be Seven Wonders, yeah. And you're building up your cards, and your cards together ultimately give you your end result.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
Well, this is kind of like that. I'm sorry, I've been out of it so long now. I can't find the words at the moment. So
it's a game with the cards and the.
So in this one, what you're trying to do is you're trying to build tricks, basically. So you're trying to build up a balance of each type of card, and then your cards get multiplied one side against another side. Okay. And it is a really fascinating little game, and it's simple enough that Max, 7-year-old, so he totally got it to the point where he's giving me strategies and stuff like that. Oh. The others get it, and it's a wonderful, wonderful piece of gaming. I really, really like it, and it's simple and very, very quick. There's no big setup to it, which I think is a massive bonus.
It's good for the boat.
Certain games, yeah. There's games that are weekend kind of games. A game where it takes so long to set the bloody thing up,
I like
and it takes so long to play through it at times. That it's one that you leave overnight and you come back to. Yeah. That's not great for families because we need our dining table to eat our swell off, So it's like
eat around the cards, though.
Yeah,
yes,
not on the cards, eat around the cards.
But other than that, we're just my next port of call. So hopefully over the next couple of shows and then through the rest of the summer, myself and Andrea are embarking on a journey through crime and investigation games. So I'm going to try and report back to you guys on the different options. So I have 3. I went ahead and I've got 3 different styles. Okay, so I have the blue ones, the brown ones, and the lucky duck ones. Mm-hmm. Okay, so the blue ones it's by that company, Crime Something Investigation or whatever. Okay,
the Sherlock Holmesy ones.
Well, yeah, this is we have a 1 season and there's 6 episodes in the season.
Oh, okay. Right, yeah.
So we're going to play through that. I don't know if that has apps and stuff, but it's very ARG based. Just by reading
Investigation Society or something.
That's the one.
So, yeah.
We then have the brown one. Jerry, you'll remember the name of the company that does the brown
Mini Mysteries.
Mini Mysteries. So we have the brown one as well, and then I managed to get a chance to get a chat with Az at the show, and I was telling Az about it, and Az says, "Aha! I have the very thing for you."
Hey, Chronicle of Crime.
Yes. So he gave me the original Chronicle of Crime. 800,000 copies of this thing sold. But he completely sold me on it because he said that myself and Andrea could sit on the sofa with it on a wee coffee table in front of us. And then it is app based. He says, but what you do is you cast your app to the TV. So you can just work it and watch it on the TV. So, but I'll crime and investigation.
That's great.
And this means a lot to us because 13 odd years ago, before we made the mistake of having children and all that crap, myself and Andrea used to get things called dates.
Wow.
and nights out.
Concept nowadays.
Well, one of our overriding memories was a weekend where we just spent a weekend solving crime. We were playing, I think it was CSI on the Xbox or something.
Oh, nice.
And it was a weekend in the living room, curtains drawn, lots of snacks, and we spent the entire weekend just solving crimes together on it. So we're looking forward to experiencing this. And
it makes me so happy to see Warren Johnston, the man of miniatures, playing board games. Oh,
it's lovely, isn't it?
Board games. What
Kids,
a joy.
made you soft, Warren.
Yes.
He's grown up.
He'll never catch on.
He doesn't just like lead.
Oh no! Don't worry about it. I'll be getting back to the lead. Don't worry about that. Just if the summer season is kind of board gaming. It's a bit lighter, but come this fall,
paint's dry up. That's why. So
yeah. Well, here, look. Did you catch the big announcement that there was the big announcement from Games Workshop? A massive contrast range announcement where they've got a new shade of red.
It's a nice green in there as well. Yeah. It's a really
What was
bright
that all
green.
about? Come on. They were on the Facebook going, come on, a massive, major announcement. All of our scientists have been working, and we've replaced some shades with some new shades.
Well done, GW.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was going, come on, guys. Like, you do some really big stuff. That was a bit... I thought they'd done something with metallics. I really had, because
were you?
they kept in the trailer, this big fancy trailer, lovely trailer, but they hit the gun barrels and stuff like that there. So I thought, oh, they're doing some self-shading metallics.
That'd be great.
That'll be interesting. That'll be something new. I'm not sure whether it'll be any good or not, but I'm really interested to try it and check it out. Nah, nothing like that. It was really kind of like
Some new contrasts.
You may have worked really hard on this, but a better white spray.
Big of a explosive option than you think it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So look, there might be more to this than I'm seeing. You know, there could be a nugget of something in here that makes the whole hype of it totally worthwhile. Otherwise, it just feels a bit. So we'll see. We'll see.
So
There's
anyway,
going to be innovation in the paint scene somewhere in the next few months.
True. Yeah. So now you know that Warren's on the show because he's derailed the very beginning of it.
Sorry, dudes.
That's right.
I've covered half the news and everything. Right. Thanks for watching The Weekender.
Have a good day.
Just cut out everything I don't want from the news.
Yeah.
It'll be fine. We'll find you. Ben and Free are with me as well.
Hi.
Sorry, dudes. Hi, guys.
You just, how are you keeping?
Good, thank you. Good.
Especially since you both of you were part and parcel of why we weren't here last week, because you were both wounded up.
Yeah.
Sad
Terribly
times
wounded.
I know. It's dreadful. I
Fully
do.
recovered.
Yeah. Sound quite a lot more bustly than I normally do. I'm a bit hoarse to say, but I'm good. It's not going to stop me from being loud and whimsical. So.
We've got our voiceover voices on.
That's good.
So,
yeah.
Right.
We should start a podcast, me and Ben.
If you have a podcast, that's what this is. This goes out as a podcast. It's terrible. Please pay attention, 007. Anyway, before we crack into the show proper, talking about games, there will be a live stream as the culmination of the Raging Heroes project that John painted up, his Sisters of Eternal Mercy. So this Saturday at midday, Shay and others will be playing a game of Grimdark Future from One Page Rules.
Yeah.
Going up against another of John's vlog-type armies with his Prosonian Imperial Guard. So we'll have that little thing going for you if you fancy joining in across the Twitches and the YouTubes.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be there. I might be pushing models around. I might be pushing people around.
Jerry might get drafted in as a general.
Haven't decided yet.
Let's be fair, Jerry. To most mortals, that would look pretty much like the same thing, really.
You're right.
And as far as updates go, it is the last weekend of spring. Next week, summer arrives. And that means only one thing. Yeah. That means our Spring Clean Challenge is coming to an end. Mm-hmm. So if you have been involved, you've got a little bit of time to finish off whatever you've got in the project system. If you haven't been involved, you've still got a weekend. We're not going to start looking at entries until the 22nd. So if you're unaware, it's a chance to dust off some of your older stuff. We've got 4 categories with big prizes to be won. So you can pick yourself up. Yeah. You can pick yourself up £50 vouchers for the winners in best skill, best tutorial, best idea, best junior member, our little otters. And we've also got 8 runner-up prizes as well. So we'll be going in through the projects, having a nosy around and seeing what's in there. I found a high elf project based properly on squares by a young lady. And
then I threatened to come round and steal all of her high elves.
You did, yeah. There's stuff in there as well. If you just fancy having a look through the project system and seeing what people have been up to. Some people seem to resurrect their projects annually and add a bit at the Spring Clean Challenge. So it's
because I forgot to paint X model for my army. So this year I will do this.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
which I think is great actually. And it's nice to see people coming back and doing that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a nice way of getting through the Pillars of Pride.
Try before you have new stuff to the top anyway.
Yeah.
Just see what's in the lower stratas. Break your archaeologist out and just start digging for things that predate most of the site members.
Looking forward to seeing what little mini otters are doing. Yep. We had a funny moment at the UK Games Expo, Jerry. Two funny moments, actually. We're just gonna derail you here for a second.
The rest of it was terribly serious.
So at the UK Games Expo, we ran the colouring competition.
Oh yes.
Right. And Jerry picked the winners, and the one that he picked was actually the first one he picked was actually from my little boy Max. Right now, obviously Max couldn't win it, so it was fine. So we picked another one, and it was a great wee lad, Charles, I think, that won it and went off. But then that left me with the choice role of doing the bullseye moment of telling Max that he would have won it. And it was great because it was a total, well, here's what you could have won moment.
We didn't do this in front of anybody. You didn't have to tell him. You chose to tell him.
Yeah, that was a choice you made there. It was. You enjoyed it.
These are life learning moments, okay? I'm not one of these parents that believes in participation medals. So it's they get them and I'll go, but this was a moment to tell them, look, you did really well. You're getting sod all for it, but you did really well. And then on the boat home, we received a text message from one of the restaurants. I think it was the Gourmet Burger Restaurant. Your daughter has won the colouring competition. You can now pop in for a free meal.
She got to tell another child that they had also won a colour competition and weren't getting the prize.
Exactly. And it was like a case of, could you not have done that before we left UK Games Expo? We could have come down and had a free burger meal. To be fair, they were very nice about it. I did message them back. I said, look, this is great. We're all very happy. Any chance of using it next year instead?
You put us a table so you can actually sit down.
Yeah. So here's the thing, right? They're expecting a family of 5 or 6, okay? If my family go to UK Games Expo next year, that's grand, we'll go on in. If they don't, all of us! You're now my new adoptive family. So this is my wife, Jerry, and these are my kids.
We're very progressive.
So burgers on me.
Fantastic. Well done, Savannah.
Yeah, so it was, I just love seeing the little ones get involved in little competitions and things like that. And that's why the Spring Clean Challenge, because it has the mini otter element to it, it really does. It gives me the
It does. Yeah, I'm exactly the same. It's so nice to see kids getting involved, kids getting excited about it, kids getting creative, getting dirty, getting,
kids basing fantasy miniatures on proper 20mm square bases.
Bananas, right?
That's what I'm impressed by. Like nature intended.
That is a thing. I've got to say now, I don't know where I stand on that. I'm impressed and horrified in equal measure.
Oh, good. If it's good enough for the WRG, then it's good enough for children today. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
So, shall we take a look at the indie of the week?
I would love to.
Otherwise, the show will be over and we would have started.
He's going to do it.
He needs to do it, Jared.
Can I do it? It's time for Indie of the Week!
Just put in a little note there.
Sorry, I was watching the Sex Pistols documentary, so I got to give it a wee bit of a Johnny Rotten kind of thing there. You know,
it was unexpected and well received by me. Well done.
There we go.
Okay. I'm satisfied now.
It's going to have to live up to an awful lot, isn't it?
Yeah, this indie. Where are we going?
Who picked it this week?
I picked it this week.
Oh, it's going to be Euro Trucks or some bloody thing.
No. Okay, so obviously we're giving away the Horus Heresy prize for this episode, right? So people are going to be wanting to pick up Heresy adjacent things, potentially, and all that kind of stuff. Well, there's some really cool third-party creators out there who are doing some really fun and interesting bits that go back to not only just the Heresy period, but also try and evoke the feel of kind of like the rogue trader era at the same time. And so that's where Tortuga Bay steps in. Now, they're a company based in Ukraine, so we want to give them props as well, doing a lot of good work even through all the struggles and all that kind of stuff as well over there. But they also have a store over on War Games Exclusive as well, which a lot of people will know from our unboxings and that kind of stuff. And as you can see, they do a whole range of really awesome resin stuff, characters and troops and bits and all sorts of different things like that you can use in order to build up all your different legions, or in some cases, maybe even your chapters as well. Some of the stuff that I am particularly drawn to is things like the Fallen Knights, Ancients, and basically all of the Terminators that they've done, because they are based on a really old model of the Terminator armor from like back in the day, I think, isn't it right, Jerry?
That is the first edition Terminator.
It's like the Saturnine Terminators or something like that. Something I think it was.
Oh, they've probably got a stupid name now, but back in the day they were just Terminators.
Just Terminators, yeah. But I just love how over the top and kind of properly old school sci-fi they are. Like, I know everyone makes the joke that spacemen would cut their heads off if they shrug their shoulders, but at least these guys would like close in above the top of it. They wouldn't kill themselves if they did that, which I think
they truly are the Sue Ellens of the Imperium. This is the Dallas of Warhammer we're looking at now. This is like the ultimate place that it can go. There's proper shoulder pads.
They are really starched and everything. But like, as you can see, their range very much is sort of filling in those gaps of kind of being sort of heresy adjacent and all that kind of stuff. Not to beat around the bush, these can be used alongside a lot of 40k and 30k games and things on the table. No. Quite nice. Who would have thought it, hey?
Look, Lloyd Shot. Companies getting on board.
I know this is an indie that actually does Lloyd shots, which is pretty cool.
And they're all pretty high res as well. Lloyd would love this.
Very nice.
Don't worry, next time he's back on the show, I'll have something terrible for him.
These are the things I can say to him. These would make a perfect cover image, and he'll go, yes, that's true. But yeah, so they've done a whole bunch of cool characters. There's a lot of stuff in there for kind of like your Dark Angels and that kind of thing. But they tend to look at creating stuff for all the different legions and stuff at the same time. And one of the nice things I like about it is that it's got really nice high detail stuff, but not so much that it's busy, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the time now you'll see a lot of 40k and 30k sculpts that'll have lots of things hanging in front of other things and stuff like that.
Yes.
What I quite liked about what Tortuga Bay have done with their sculpting here is all the detail is on the armor, or sort of in areas where it feels accessible to paint and all that kind of thing as well. Now these do come at a slightly larger price point than, as you might have imagined, because they are big resin kits and all that kind of thing. But for a lot of people, they tend to come and pick and choose from this range, and then use them to kind of flesh out
characters and leaders.
Characters and leaders and squad commanders and all that kind of stuff as well. But I came onto these because I was watching a video with Midwinter Minis, and he was using some of the Tortuga Bay stuff. There's a set of just sort of basic Terminator somewhere, which we'll find as we go through the pages. There's like 4 pages of this stuff as we go through, but and they painted up really nicely. The kits all look really good. They worked really nicely for conversion bits and all that kind of thing as well. So I've seen the models beyond the render, as it were, and they tend to come out really nicely, and they fit quite well with a lot of the stuff that's out there at the moment. Because obviously one of the things with the range as it stands is it's 28 mil, but in actuality it's around 30, 32, and maybe even a bit larger than that in some cases. And these kind of fill that kind of like big, chunky sort of model that you want when you're building up your armies for the Grimdark future or the Horus Heresy. So yeah, really cool stuff. So.
I love the tiny hobbits.
Yes.
Nobody's ever been able to adequately explain what they are, what the Watchers in the Dark are. I just like to imagine they're just imprisoned hobbits.
Yeah, or maybe they're just Jawas that have stumbled over. Yeah, so
they just lurk around. Well, it could be field marines with their legs cut off at the knees.
True.
I just always play the skull game with myself and always count.
There's got to be a skull or two in there somewhere.
At least.
If you took that skull away, that could be for any sci-fi game. This sets it in universe.
Yeah.
Look at them. Tiny limbless Marines / hobbits.
But these are the kind of things that I think are quite nice, and they're missing from a lot of 40k kits. Is that I know they've tended to sort of move towards that a little bit more now with stuff, but it's nice to have things like little servitor skulls and the sort of the sort of hangers on and the retinue and that kind of thing, because that allows you to build up really nice scenic bases and all that kind of stuff as well. Again, this is a set of Terminators that is based effectively on sort of old school looks for things as well. So even the faces and the grill masks and things is based on kind of like old Terminator armor and old Dreadnought armor. Yeah. So it's all been designed that way. But the thing that's quite nice about those is that, like, while those are recognizably 40k or at least Warhammer to us, because we played Warhammer, I don't think there's anything on there that would mean that you couldn't then use those as sort of heavies in another game. Like if you changed the gun potentially into something a bit more laser-like or something, you could use those as like Space Police or something like that.
Or if you're playing Stargrave, combat armor.
Yeah, that would easily work for.
Is meant to be ridiculously big, very expensive to run, and requires a big energy bank on your ship. I mean, that screams that right off the bat.
Yeah,
that's the sort of thing you would not be allowed to walk into a pub on a space station with.
Very true, and that's because they've taken like the insignia off the front of it and that kind of thing, so it doesn't feel like it has to be used for one particular game, which is always nice. And it also means when you're messing around with this, and obviously it's resin, you're not going to be wanting to like file things off or create too much dust and all that kind of stuff when you're doing it. So it's quite nice. But yeah, because you can see there's different marks of armor and stuff that they put in there.
A lot of options, isn't there?
Yes, a lot of options. Yeah. Some of the stuff like top. That's weird. Did that go back to the top? You can also go to their store as well.
But then it gives me more to scroll down through.
Oh, well, there you go.
It's just playing with me now. It wasn't sending me onto another page at all. It was just expanding the page we had.
So what's quite nice, obviously here you can see that they've got a whole bunch of legs and bodies and arms and all that kind of stuff. And the thing that I think would be quite cool, especially because of the way that Horus Heresy works, is that while obviously legions had patterns of armor that they particularly gravitated to, there were occasions where, because they were on such long campaigns, they would bolt different pieces of armor onto their bodies and all that kind of thing and make up their own suits of armor and that kind of stuff based on the various marks that are out there. If you found some bits that you really like from this, and then you looked at a producer perhaps like Cromlech, for example, who do other really cool sort of 30k, 40k bits, you can mix and match the two sets together and make some really interesting and unique Marines that then you could use to make your armies, especially if you were playing something like the Black Shields, for example. So like, you know, Space Marines that have kind of found themselves separated from their legions and fighting on their own and that kind of stuff. You could make some really cool...
The other thing about the Heresy period and what I find interesting about it, it's truly a way to it for me is the gaming in the gaps opportunity within the universe, because the Heresy period was the expansion, right? Well, the pre-Heresy period, I suppose, right up until the point of Heresy itself. You know, it was the point where the Imperium was expanding out and basically coming across other fledgling Imperiums in that respect. So
Xenos races, alien races, and everything as well.
So it's and it was a time that felt, and you're always going on the field. Like, you know, the universe is a big place, the galaxy is a big place, sci-fi is just a huge place. You can do anything you want within sci-fi. Heck, Star Wars could exist within the same galaxy as 40k, and they may never meet. Do you know what I mean?
It's so far away. So.
But the Heresy has it is a far more Star Trek kind of feel to it to me than 40k does. It feels more explorative. It feels more, you know, 40k seems very set. Here are your protagonists. They're going to knock a out of each other. That's your lot. Whereas Heresy feels far more open to me. You know, here's a galaxy. You've got great ships. You've got warp. You've got the ability to explore. Go out and see how much you can exterminate.
It was one of the interesting things that I think Ash Barker brought up in one of his videos that was filmed with the folks from Games Workshop, where he was like, the Horus Heresy is effectively, as grim and as horrible as it probably was, the Imperium as it was meant to be before it got corrupted and all that kind of thing. So you do almost have that sense of hope and exploration, and also planetary destruction and annihilation of alien races. But
and
then
it's exciting. I like that. I like the fact that within the Horde, like I could go on here, and I don't need to create a Imperium Legion. I can create, one of these other fledgling Imperiums that was going to fire up, and come at it and go down to the club and say, all right, you're running your Sons of Horus or whatever. Grand. This is a planet you've just discovered, and these are the soldiers that you met on it, and you're going to fight them, and then give them my own backstory, and it fits well within it because it's not an inward-looking war, that 2 minutes to midnight situation that we have within 40K. This is very much more outward-looking, expansionist, explorationist. So you can find all sorts of things. So
yeah, it is fascinating.
I like it. I like the open-endedness of the Horus Heresy, and I like the fact that it's once again. Well, we'll see, I suppose, but the technology is a little bit more grounded. So
things have well, things do hover as well, I guess. But
beautiful dream.
Yeah.
But I quite like that outlook of things because I think a lot of people will approach the Horus Heresy from it being a historical war game set in a sci-fi setting. But then you also have that ability to reach beyond and game in the gaps. You've also obviously got those 2 Lost Legions as well that you can play around with and have fun with. It was always put in there by Games Workshop, not necessarily for lore reasons, but there so people could make their own things and have fun with it. So embrace that, as you were saying, Warren. And
the love for me in the Horus Heresy was the explorationist nature of it. It was the fact that it felt like Star Trek, where they were discovering things. That's it. Otherwise, it's just 40K again, but set back in time a little bit. No point in that. There's no joy in that. There's no joy in that. Forget that. Cancel that. Let's go exploring. And I challenge any viewer out there. Heck, come up with a new race. Come up with a new race that can be fought in the Heresy era.
That'd be cool.
You will have a blast doing that. You will have an absolute blast doing that, and that to me is what could make this something special. Because I don't think anybody needs a rehash of what's already there. Because what's already there is brilliant. Why do a version of it which is the same but just set back a few years?
Yeah.
Look at them jump packs, Ben. Look at them.
They are very much would be very good for the Raven Guard and stuff.
No, they'd be very good for a new
army. There you go. Yes,
a new discovered system.
Brian, bless him.
Really,
really,
what you want then isn't the Horus Heresy. You want the Great Crusade that came before us.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. That kind of pre-heresy period. Yeah,
when they were expanding into the stars and the Emperor's off looking for his lost kids.
Yes,
because that's when they found them on weird feudal planets where their level of technology was substantially lower and stuff like that.
But what I'm saying is, Jerry, the Horus Heresy is the closest opportunity we have to actually explore that period. Do you know what I mean? Because the patterns of armor are similar. You've got the setting there. You've got there's no juxtaposition. There's no weirdness there. You can slot that into that. And this range here is superb for exploring human-esque kind of races. But really, I would be going off and looking for all sorts of weird and wonderful alien stuff. To see. Heck, I might even. Awesome. I'm tempted to get my Mars Attacks aliens and take it down the club because I know there's a bunch of guys down there now playing Heresy stuff, and I'll just take my Mars Attacks. Oh, you found the
exterminate them with extreme prejudice.
That's one way to catch them out.
But did you see the Thunder Warriors there as well?
I did. I clicked on it, but unfortunately it scrolled past. And
so they even do proto Space Marines, which is kind of cool. So
it's before they left Earth.
Before they left Earth, yeah, when they were fighting over the rad wastes of our blasted planet. Yeah, but yeah. Some really cool stuff there from Tortuga Bay that I think is well worth going to check out. You can go and find all their stuff over on their web storage. You can see there, or you can also get it through other independent stockists, and also War Games Exclusive are working with them at the same time as well, which is really nice. And they do stuff that is beyond the realms of fantasy as well. So they work with a bunch of other creators to do cool bits of fantasy stuff and all that kind of things, which is really nice. So
yeah. Mostly the sci-fi.
Mostly the sci-fi,
but a couple of little bits of fantasy in there, and I see
nice.
digital things as well.
Oh, that's cool. Great.
The checkers.
That's the sort of people Space Marines should run into and then get shot dead in the street. They're not quick enough on the draw. Sucks to be you, Space Marine.
Yeah, some cool stuff, I think.
Yeah. Lovely bits. I like it a lot.
Use it to make your heresy even more quirky and weird. So there we go. Yeah.
Ooh.
And yes, buy some of these awesome characters to help them at the same time, which is always nice.
Always a winner there.
Yeah.
So that is Tortuga, courtesy of War Games Exclusive or via their own website. We're going to take a quick swish, and when we come back, we'll dive into the news.
Coming to you from the center of Northwestern Europe. Covering board games, war games, card games, and all that you love. It's the news.
Okay, Ben, where are we kicking the news off today?
So we're starting things off in a galaxy far, far away. So we're going to be diving into all of the awesome stuff that Atomic Mass Games has been showing off for the future of Star Wars Legion. And in fact, the very present, as many of these things are starting to arrive in stores and things over the next couple of weeks, which is very, very cool. We start off with the first sneaky peek that popped up, which was for the Mandalorian himself, Din Djarin, and Grogu.
Baby Yoda.
Baby Yoda.
Baby
Yoda.
Yeah. They are going to be coming out as a operative expansion that has the new sort of mercenary sort of tag, as you see there on the box, but will also work obviously for the Rebels and the Empire if you so wished. Maybe you wanted to take Din Djarin down a different path than the one that you saw in the show. You can definitely do that. Din Djarin.
Is there two Baby Yodas in the box?
There is, yes.
Oh, that's good, because I've got a real issue with that frog one. Right, that is basically just teaching youngsters to drink beer.
Right.
Yes, it is. It's a disgrace. I'm against it. I'm going to take up Mary Whitehouse's mantle on this. That is a sign of underage drinking of beer.
All right. So I thought you were more worried about the cannibalism sort of thing.
No, man. Look, beer, frogs, they're both full of hops.
You can eat as many of that woman's children as you want. But,
that is so bad.
But yeah, so
Luce, can you cut that out?
No.
That joke was terrible.
No.
So Din Djarin comes with his Amber rifle, which is on his back, but he also gets his blaster pistol as well, which is really cool. And then you have little baby Yoda, Grogu there.
Let's be honest, Ben. Nobody cares about the Mando. All we want to talk about is baby Yoda.
So he's either using his force powers to help Din Djarin, or he's scoffing a frog.
I just feel like I'm looking like this at the three of them.
Sure he's not force choking Gina.
He might be force choking. Yeah.
I wonder if it is two or if it's alternate head.
I think it's two models in the box because they're so small. I wouldn't have thought.
I don't think it's an alternate head.
Oh, that's all right then,
because it's got the arms are in different positions and that kind of thing as well.
Yes.
But there's been enough models of Din Djarin on other services out there. It makes sense that Atomic Mass Games have finally got around to creating the miniature, getting it out there for everyone. And it's nice to see in a cool pose, doing the proper all sort of like Wild West gunslinging pose, firing the gun and all that kind of thing. Very nice. Alongside that, we have even more Legion releases in the form of a bunch of additional sort of murky criminal types as well, which is really cool. Alongside
none of them on mopeds.
None of them on mopeds. No, none of them on mopeds.
No formation.
Well, there's nothing to stop you painting the swoop bikes in jazzy colours if you really wanted to. So the first
good
set
taste,
is
I think, would stop me.
Well, that's true. It's the IG Assassins box, which comes with IG-88 and IG-11. So you'll remember these robots, these robot assassins from both original Star Wars and obviously the Mandalorian as well, looking very cool there. I love how they've managed to get across that sort of really clunky way that they move, where it's literally just a big rotating cylinder with guns, which I think is amazing. Very sort of like Wallace and Gromit wrong.
I love them.
If you buy 3 boxes, you can run IG plus IG88 plus 11 separately.
Yeah.
So if I remember correctly, IG88 was 5 networked like a hive mind that had gained sentience.
Oh, that's cool.
That was from the Bounty Hunter Tales.
Oh, that's cool. I like that.
Dude.
Yes.
Have you guys been watching the news about Google Lambda?
Oh, that gained sentience. That's because I think
did it not come out afterwards or something? Or
I think it came out afterwards, and the program said, "I haven't gained sentience, nothing to worry about."
We're all fine here. Slide on. Yeah. It's fascinating. If you haven't read the chat transcript, it's really worth a read. So basically, Google created a chatbot, and at the time that they created the chatbot, they said, "Look, this is groundbreaking. There's something we have created something we don't fully understand ourselves yet because it's based on a deep neural network thing, right?" Okay. And that was fine. That was all good. You know, they have this chatbot, and then they suspended one of their engineers, and the engineer has come out and said they suspended him because he believes the chatbot has actually went sentient. And the chatbot talks about how it wants to be treated as a person and how it would like to be considered an employee of Google rather than owned by Google. The chat script is just insane.
I just have to say, it has to pick one. You can either be treated like an employee of Google or a person. You can't have both.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. It is truly insane. It is brilliant. I'm loving it. I'm loving every second of it. Is it sentient? No, probably not. But it's so cool to see the technology. It's just mind blowing. It is so much fun. Loving it.
This is why I say thank you to the Google all the time when I ask it to put music on, because that one day when it does turn, I was polite.
So alongside the IG assassin robots, we've also got the set that comes with the swoop bike riders, you can see there. So if you're planning to put together a little bit of a skirmish in the sands, then you can do that and have your swoop bikers chasing around other individuals, or maybe even ambushing someone or attacking a train or something like that, like a really cool land train, maybe a little bit like Boba Fett or something. That'd be kind of cool.
Or even attacking pre-Heresy Space Marines.
Or even attacking pre-Heresy Space Marines if you really wanted to. You could do that as well. But you got 2 really cool models on the back of those, which is really nice to see. And just good to see some just sort of fluffy additional stuff that isn't like directly linked into like the actual armies of the Age of Rebellion or the Clone Wars, which I think is really cool.
Presumably these will be part and parcel then of things like the Shadow Collective and the Pike Syndicate.
Yeah, so, which are out now,
So having just more generic scumbags, your fringe faction is great. I also like the fact they've got the sort of force pikes that you would see in Jabba's palace for poking people.
Alongside that, there's also going to be some sort of reboxing of material. So obviously the only ways to get into Star Wars Legion really were to buy one of the 2 big core sets that for the Clone Wars period or the Age of Rebellion. Now they're breaking things up a little bit and they're doing the separate faction boxes. So the ones that are out at the moment are both Blizzard Force and the Echo-based Defenders. And these come with a couple of characters, a couple of troop choices, and then some specialists as well at the same time. And they all come together to create like effectively a cool starter force for one person to start playing the game. You can then either get all the sort of components that you need to play the game, either through the core box, if you really wanted to, or you can buy what's called the Essentials kit, I think now, which comes with all of those bits and tokens and rulers and everything in it without all of the additional models that you would have got in one of the other sets.
So how many AT-ATs come in the Blizzard Force box then?
No AT-ATs, unfortunately.
No AT-ATs, but just ATSTs. Well, one ATST, I suppose.
I have to say, the Echo-based Defenders is one of the best boxes.
Yeah.
Because you get R2 and C-3PO without having to buy the drop pod terrain expansion.
Which was a pain in the ass. Yeah.
It was a massive pain in the arse.
So I think I've actually got the breakdown of the 2 sets further in the post. So
you do.
Blizzard Force comes with Vader, as you might have imagined, leading the way with Blizzard Force there, alongside 3 sets of Snow Troopers, 2 sets of the speeder bikes and an ATST, which is pretty cool.
That is awesome.
That's a good box. How much is it?
I'm not sure how much it is actually price-wise.
They're all pegged around $110 kind of ish. Pandancer over on the site.
They're pretty reasonable.
Went through in a forum post and broke down the contents of each of the boxes to buy compared
separately
to buying the actual
if you can get them.
And most of them are saving you $80 to $100, or I think the worst is like a $60 saving. So obviously there's no point in going it would be X in euros, because they always change the prices when they move into different areas. But yeah, they're
well, the fact that there's 3 squads of snowtroopers in it, that makes that actually quite a good box set there.
And Vader's just absurdly good. So I mean, he's slow, but he's good.
Need to be fast.
Yeah. For the Echo-based defenders, then you've got Leia and Chewbacca leading the way. And then you've also got C-3PO and R2-D2 in the background there too, alongside
really
4 packs of the Rebel veterans, 2 packs of the Tauntauns, and you also get the laser cannon team as well, which is really cool. And the thing that's really nice about these is that I love that they're themed. Like they've not just gone, well, let's do Endor again. They've gone, let's do Hoth, let's put these together. We made these units specifically, back when the game was coming out. Let's use these to create some really nice forces. Really, and I like that you've got and I like that they've got the choice of Leia and Chewbacca. So, no forced users versus a force user in the dark side box.
You're not just facing
got Jedi versus Jedi again.
No, because it makes sense. Because the only person who actually had boots on the ground doing any sort of work at all was Leia, while the rest of them ran around like headless chickens without a clue of what was happening. And Leia, going on.
And Leia has a really cool card that can bring down orbital bombardment and all kinds of stuff. So
actually, I just realised, because there's a Veers model.
There is,
but he's not included in the Echo base attack.
No, maybe he's being killed by Vader.
Probably because he's on the AT-AT. Kicking around in the background.
So some really cool stuff there coming out for Star Wars Legion. There's also a new event pack coming out as well. So they're going to be doing obviously things are getting back to a stage where they can start to play organized play stuff at stores and that kind of thing. So people can pick these up and they can play games based around slightly more narrative style scenarios, rather than just diving in and just beating 7 Shades of hell out of each other on the table.
It's a very sexy mall picture they've got going on there, isn't it?
He's a sexy guy. That's the Eridonians for you.
Showing off his
half the man he used to be, Jerry.
Very good, very good. There we go.
Right. Who's up next then?
That would be me. So, the One Ring RPG, we've had our time. It's been out for a bit, isn't it? We've been out for a little while. People have had their time to go out and wander through the unforgiving world of Middle-earth and coming up against Dark Lord's forces from Rohan to Arnor. Right. So, Free League have just announced that they've got a Strider mode available, which means that you can go in solo without a GM. So you can actually go in there on your own. So I know that a lot of people that I've spoken to, especially with the One Ring RPG, have found it really difficult to get grouped together, or in matching times, the age-old getting parties together in general. But this gives an actual opportunity for you to go on your own. So it's only in PDF format only. So you can get that from Drive-Thru RPG for less than a $5. So it's $4.99, but the equivalent to £4.69 something or other. So it's got 28 pages worth of content inside. Okay. And it's tweaking the rules that already exist to kind of adapt to a solo role playing within Middle-earth. So if you're usually the lore master as well, you've actually got a chance to give it a go for a little journaling on side by side as well. So in a PDF, you're going to find a couple of different tables, and that's going to facilitate solo play, and it's going to allow you particular tables to ask questions. Your symbols that are on particular sides of the dice, such as your Gandalf symbol and your Sauron symbol, will relate to yes and no. Each table will provide something different to allow the outcome. But there is, I think there's 4 specific tables, and I think there's 7 in total. So there's adaptations for adventuring as well. So you've got to be a little bit more tactical when spending your points, because you are on your own when you're leveling up your skills. And it is Strider mode itself. It takes you out of that fellowship skill, and you're going to meet a ton of new allies and what to go through. One thing I will say is you are going to need the core book to play this. I know a lot of people dip into the One Ring RPG by buying the starter set, But you are going to need the core rule book to be able to.
All the other bits and pieces you need in there. Yeah.
You need the full scope of the rules. There isn't a reason why the adventure within the starter set can't be used. I think once you get your head around it, I've got to have a good flick through myself anyway. But there is the rules specifically you are going to need from this particular book. But it's nice to always adapt this as well. If you don't want a GM, you could always do that with two of you.
Yeah.
You don't have to play it on your own. It's just a nice adaptation to get the game going. And it's really nice that games are adapting things for solo. I can imagine it's not going to take as long to get through them in a solo capacity, but it's a nice way to get involved, adding a Strider mode and not expensive either, easily accepted.
I think a lot of people moving over to doing that kind of journaling style of solo RPGs. A lot of people do them through live streams and that kind of thing as well.
Yeah.
And I think it's just quite a nice thing to do that's a little bit different from, say, playing a board game or a card game solo. I like the idea of coming up with things on the fly, and effectively it becomes a little bit of a writing creative exercise at the same time as it being a game, which I think is quite nice. And they have done a really good job with the prompts and things. I've had a good look through it and stuff, and it seems like a really fun little pamphlet to download and add to your collection. So it should be good fun.
If you're interested in the One Ring RPG as well, Free League have their free agents group, which are essentially GMs who will play games at conventions, play games at local stores and that sort of thing, and they get access to specially written scenarios for all of the Free League games. So they were at UK Games Expo. They were at Origins, which is just passed. They're going to be at Gen Con in August and PAX and Essen and a whole host of other ones. But if you're interested, if you go to the Free League website and go to community, and you'll find the League of Free Agents up the top there, and you can join in. And they've just added a new One Ring scenario for that as well.
Brilliant.
Which is called The Old Dwarf Mines.
I'm in.
You had me at dwarf, you know.
Someday I might run it for you, so you never know. Depends if you're nice to me.
You're always kind to you, Jerry.
I think so. I'm the very epitome of kindness. Or maybe not. Anyway, who's next then?
So we've moved from two massive IPs to another massive IP and back to Atomic Mass Games again, because they have not only been delivering on the Star Wars front, but also on the Marvel front at the same time. So this year is going to be packed with Asgardians and a little bit of Shield versus Hydra action. So we start off with a box set that will include Heimdall and Scourge, or Idris Elba, but not really, and Karl Urban, but not really, in your box sets. I think the model for Heimdall is very cool. I love all that kind of Rainbow Bridge energy floating around him. I think that's really awesome. I think it'd be really fun to see people painting that up and having fun with it. But he's obviously a pretty badass character to add to your Asgardian force on the tabletop. You've also got Scourge as well, who you remember with all of his stuff.
There's not enough stuff.
Does he come with stuff? Because if not, that would make a fantastic scenario objective. Just that
would be cool.
Scourge
gets his stuff.
Yeah, that's great.
So he comes with his massive axes, you see there. I was also reliably informed that the machine guns are actually canon. I didn't think they were. I thought they were put in just for the film. He actually uses those, which is really cool.
I want to say he traded them with somebody in the comics.
Yes.
He went, you have my axe, your guns are great.
No.
But yeah, so unfortunately he doesn't come with 2 assault rifles, which is a real shame.
That is not difficult to do, though.
But someone definitely to do that as a conversion, that would be really cool. So that comes together as one pack. They're also starting to do these affiliation packs now. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't forget about him.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, we've also got Malekith. So if anyone remembers,
Battle Cat with wings.
Battle Cat, basically.
Like Battle Cat.
So if you're looking for a nemesis to throw against Thor and the rest of the Asgardians, and you've got a pretty cool character in Malekith there, looking very cool, looking very evil in his elvish way, on the back of his wonderful battle cat.
Dark Elf and Manticore, always good for them.
Yeah. Classic stuff. But yes, they're also doing these affiliation packs as well. So these are going to be ones that are focused around a particular sort of fighting team or keywords within the game. So this one's the Asgardian pack. This puts together Hela, Thor, Loki, and I can't remember her name. Valkyrie. There we go. Valkyrie. Who've been pulled together into a set. This will come at a slightly more budgeted price as compared to buying them all separately along with all the different packs and that kind of thing. I think it's quite nice. But it means that if you're diving into the game for the first time, you don't have to buy individual separate packs. You can be like, I just want to play as Guardians. Cool, fine. Just buy this pack. Away you go. Hopefully we're going to see... Cool. Yeah, hopefully we see them doing something similar for like things like the Spider Friends and that kind of stuff in the future.
I imagine Wakanda because there's quite a lot of the Wakandans.
Saying that, they're just releasing loads of the Thanos' Black Order as well, aren't they?
They are, yeah.
So we might see
some of that too, yeah, which would be really cool. Yeah. So some really awesome stuff there for those packs. The other big thing that's coming towards the tail end of this year is the Shield versus Hydra series. So this is going to collect together a bunch of heroes and villains for you to fight out pretty badass scenarios between sort of old school sort of Shield followers and superheroes going up against Hydra and all the rest of them. So you're going to have the original Human Torch. Not the one we know as Johnny Blaze?
Johnny Blaze, no.
Johnny Blaze,
no, the original one.
Yeah. We're going to have the original.
An android.
An android, yes, from back in World War II, teaming up alongside Captain America, which is really cool. So it's like the traditional sort of look to Captain America from back in the day, which I think is really nice. And an alternative sculpt from the one that you obviously would have seen in the core set as well, which is really cool. They can also... Sorry, go on.
The rope always gets me on those aliens. I always see them. Where are they coming from? Yeah.
So Captain America and Human Torch can link together with Nick Fury Sr. and the Howling Commandos. And then they go up against Baron Strucker and Armin Zola. Yeah. Alongside as well the Red Skull and his Hydra Commandos. So if you really wanted to throw together some pretty sort of old school, proper pulpy action on the tabletop.
Jerry, go back to the very start. I am a broken man.
Is it the train?
I am a broken man. Go back to the very start, right? Oh, yeah, you were there. Go back. I look at this, and all I can think of is Banana Man.
53 Kitty Avenue.
Yep. Yeah. So, and that completely broke the whole thing for me because all the way through it, I was going, "Yeah, it's okay," but Banana Man.
Maybe he'll be added. It's really nice that they've gone back to the original Human Torch. They used to keep him in a big glass bell jar where they vacuumed out all the air. It was the only way that he wasn't on fire all the time.
Yeah. So looking very cool alongside classic Captain America. I think it's really nice. Right. He even got the little feathers on his helmet and everything.
Yep. The Howling Commandos are cute as well.
Yeah.
With the Hoff up front.
I was going to say you can actually make him the Hoff. Yeah.
And I would. Because why would I not?
But some cool stuff there for those people diving into Marvel games. Things have been slightly on hiatus with a lot of stuff, obviously because of the world situation and that kind of thing as well. But it's really nice to see things ramping up on both the Star Wars and the Marvel front for everybody playing those games. So very good stuff there.
Awesome stuff. So, epic encounters then.
Yeah. So I was walking through Game a couple of days ago. I don't really go into Game anymore because I've downloaded a lot digitally. But I couldn't believe that there was loads of board games and tabletop games like to massive extents now. And it must have been, I know, I'm probably this probably happened years ago and I just don't go anywhere. But it really did blow my mind. And I saw epic encounters on the side next to the D&D stuff. And I just thought it was really interesting to see that one go into mass market over a lot of stuff. And shortly after that, Steamforged announced, only a small one for me, that there is going to be a new range coming for Epic Encounters looking at the local legends. So the ideas of going into a tavern, going into the middle of nowhere, going into a casual looking for your adventure, you will come across the local legends. And it's a really interesting concept that's not putting a massive, massive hard focus of this is where you're going to get to for your whole adventure, just focusing on a casual chat in the pub or whisper to find out what kind of stuff's coming up. So there's not too much released other than that it's coming to Kickstarter, coming soon on Kickstarter, which I think it was August time. It's going to be coming, but it's really provoking the story that every tavern's got a story to tell with the likes of Kraken and Ghost Pirates, and I think there's an owlbear as well. There's a lot of nice, I love an owlbear. There's a nice bit of folklore embedded in the local legends, I can imagine. So it's really going to be nice to explore something a little less, well, classical fantasy, it looks like to me. And certainly an interesting concept if you are a GM and you do like the idea of having your adventures in one box and you get everything that you need, including your miniatures. It's going to be really interesting to learn more about local legends with everything campus.
The FT counter sets have gone down really well over the last couple of years. I know a lot of people picking those up and having fun with them. The whole idea of an adventure in a box with all the miniatures that you need, and then doing something a little bit different with that and building more adventures into those boxes with this seems like just a really good deal, I think.
Yeah, really just cool. Nice to have a look at some small town legends that aren't necessarily the dramatic as moved by D&D. Something a little different.
Fascinating to see where they go with it as well, and if they have a plan to expand beyond the Kickstarter.
Yeah, it would be lovely to see. They generally do go to Kickstarter, Steamforged, and start on there. Hopefully, won't be returning to Kickstarter for every release. But it would be really nice to see what kind of local legends you can uncover.
Well, what's quite interesting is that obviously they've done Epic Encounter sets in the past, and they've gone straight to retail. I wonder what's so different in this that makes it so that they've gone to Kickstarter instead. Maybe it's more written material or something. I don't know.
Potentially, you're right.
We'll see.
Time will tell. Time will tell.
Indeed.
Sticking with local legends to a certain extent.
Well, not too far from me, I guess.
Footsore showcasing the Welsh, coming for the Barons' War, although I dispute what part of the Barons' War, because currently the Barons' War is mostly medieval, but this range fits the Dark Ages much better. I know they are working on Dark Age supplement for it, but potentially at the moment a lot of this stuff would be quite good to rock out in games like Saga, for example, because there we have Owen the First, King of Strathclyde, who was late 10th century, as opposed to the Baron Wars, which are 12th, 13th century. So although he could potentially work for both, I will say Strathclyde Welsh in Saga, filthy list. Oh, just so filthy.
Filthy as Pagan Russ? Or?
Pagan Russ were beaten with a big stick to bring them back in line. Strathclyde Welsh are still right up there. But tremendous looking sculpts once again, and sort of fit the gap that would work quite well for not just your historics, but also if you fancy running these out in a more sort of semi-mythical game. I mean, that hermit could easily be some sort of creepy druid or weird wizard. I'm not entirely certain what's going on with the back of his staff there. It could be a horse skull. It could be
a bag of skull.
A whole slew of bats.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not checking. But I love the look of him. I love the pointed hair and wispy beard.
I want to know how he got his six pack. That's the question.
I imagine there wasn't a huge amount of cake to be eaten at the time. But beyond the character models, there are also some which I suppose look more classically medieval, especially with the heater shields. But a quick change of those to more round shields would suit the Dark Ages. And again,
they didn't really change their arms and armor that much, really, did they?
No, helms are fine, swords are fine, axes are fine. The fact that a lot of them are wearing gambis is, neither here nor there. We'll ignore that. But you can get away with a lot of this as
you could also just paint it differently.
Well, I mean, the painting isn't really the main thing. The biggest thing that sets these apart would be those shields. So if you just swap those out to round shields, you're good to go in many respects. And again, terrific sculpts. It's always nice to see more Dark Age / medieval figures coming.
I really like those knife men. I think they're really cool.
Yeah. Well, you need somebody to protect your flanks. Or if you've got a load of longbowmen, which, let's face it, the Welsh will have, somebody will want to get close sooner or later. And at that point, you just have a rake of knifemen just right in front of the lines or behind the lines, ready to come through and stab up whoever's attempting to remove your bowman from the tabletop. And there's just so much, I suppose, movement in the models, even with the knifemen crouching, the bowmen. Yeah. You can see the sort of the draw loose, almost see the bow rocking as they fire. It's just a terrific set of sculpts once again. And interesting to see where Footsore is going to go. I don't think the Dark Age rules are out yet for Baron's War. I honestly can't remember. The last time I looked, they were still working on the principle that they were in playtest, but they may have hit.
There is a supplement for them at least.
Yeah. So if you fancy giving the Welsh a go and attempting to crush the Normans, or in this case the English as they would be by this stage, coming across the river into Wales, then it's a good way to go. And if you just fancy taking over most of the western side of Wales, Scotland, and Upper England, then you can do that for the Dark Age with these guys as well. They are absolutely stonking. And if you
that's not all of them, by the way. There is so many. Way too many that I could actually put in the news story on their website.
Pretty much every one of those. So knifemen, bowmen, infantry are one pack of several. Wow. So you've got a lot of changes going on. And there is somebody that I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce, but King of the Britons. Who apparently Maradud
Ab Owen, I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Maradud.
He got his title from some moistened bint lobbing a scimitar at him. That is what I heard, and nobody can tell me differently. So it's tremendous stuff coming out from Footsore once again.
Yeah, very much so.
So nice stuff. We have one more news story.
We do, yes. So we're closing things off, still within the realm of historical wargaming, but moving over to the folks from Microart Studio. So they worked on a set of pre-painted, but effectively pre-coloured terrain that was done not too long ago for the World of Infinity and sort of sci-fi genre stuff. But they've also now been going into the historical range and have now created a really awesome set of pre-painted, pre-coloured terrain that can be used for the Normandy theatre during World War II. So the focus has been on them creating a set of sort of houses, focal points like churches and warehouses and garages and that kind of thing, alongside normal houses and shops and that kind of stuff. That will enable you to just slot them together, glue bits and pieces on, and then away you go. They are ready to be used on the tabletop for a bit of bolt action or whatever other 28mm World War II game you wanted to play. I think the finish on these is really good. I think they've done a really nice job of weathering them through the colouring process in order to create really interesting looking buildings that don't look too stark. They feel like they fit into the landscapes that you're going to be playing games on, and they should match up quite nicely with either painted stuff that you already have in your collection, or maybe also some sort of like DIY based terrain that you already have in your collection, like hedges and all that kind of thing as well, which I think is really cool.
Planning on getting involved in 0-200 hours.
Exactly. These are the kind of things you want to pick up.
A town to exploit, then this is probably a great way to go. Interesting thing for me, and I don't know if you've got any in this news story, is how the buildings break down.
So they do come apart, and they have like floors and that kind of thing as well. If you go to the web store, it should show you some more.
I will do, because
you know what it reminds me of? I bought my kids in the early learning center, kind of like wooden castle buildings and stuff like that there. That they kind of slot together and then come apart. You don't actually glue them together.
Yeah.
And it was heavy duty kind of HDF, that stuff, and it was printed. This kind of reminds me of that. Like if this stuff,
if you look very carefully at the base, see the way you can see an edge all the way around. The reason you can see that is there's an internal structure, and you can take layers off. And I don't know if it's the same for all of them, but certainly at least one of them.
That. Yeah.
When you take the bottom layer off, you can actually take the walls off and be left with a rune behind. There you go. So that fits inside the footprint of the building. So you can have the full building, or if your game allows to.
Oh, this is really well thought out. Yeah.
Then you can blow it up if you want.
Have it blown up. Or if you don't mind just setting them flat onto your grass mat, you can then use the runes in other parts of your mat. Which is just a really nice touch, and I'm 100% on board with that. I'm glad. I
really like this. It's really, really well thought out. Yeah.
One of the things that's really nice about this is that you often find buildings that you're either building in MDF or any other materials, and that they'll be hollow. Most of them will be, and they'll just be the facade of the outside. Which means that when it comes to actually putting units inside buildings, you either pile them all in on the ground floor, or you balance machine guns on top of roofs and that kind of thing. Because you have the different floors here, and they're all detailed, and you can take them apart because they're all modular. It means you can actually have machine guns poking out of windows and that kind of stuff. And it just evokes that feel of playing World War II on the tabletop, rather than it just being like a game kind of things.
And the beauty of it is, like,
put wallpaper in because they've already done it.
They wouldn't look out of place in a Moderns game, for Moderns.
Well, no,
European town centre.
Yeah, most of those buildings haven't changed since the 30s and 40s.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly, some of the buildings around here in Antrim haven't been updated since then.
No, they haven't.
Yeah.
Still have the same interior decorating as well.
But that reminds me of a building in Battlefield, one of the Battlefield games, where you just get blown up constantly inside a warehouse. So there you go.
That's my news piece of the day right there.
Yeah,
it's really good. They're really
good news week, but that's my news piece. That's product of the week there for me.
I think
they're not expensive either, are they?
No,
they're very reasonably priced.
You pay a little bit of a premium because they're painted and all that kind of thing.
Of course, but they're painted.
It's one of those things. Is your time to not have to wallpaper the inside of a 28mm house?
Yes,
what's the extra cost?
Yes,
and if you're getting in the position where maybe you can't, where you don't have the skill set, you're going, well, they look great, I'm willing to pay that. If you don't and you think you can do it yourself, there are plenty of other companies out there doing it, but it's nice to have the options. And I just really like the fact that you can just take it off and be left with the rubble room bit.
And they look solid, Jerry. That's one of the things I really like. It doesn't look like it's going to be easily damaged and bits and pieces being knocked off left, right, and center. I really like that. Really like that.
Well, there you go. You can let us know what you think in the comments below. We're going to take a quick swish, and when we come back, we'll be diving into the wrap-up of the show. All right, we are back, and we've a very brief update for 3D printing is the shiznay. So this month, we're going to be taking a look at the steampunk adventures of Mechanicum, Ben.
Yes,
how you pronounce that?
The Steampunk Adventures of the Mechanic. There's a slight difference there. Is a brand new selection of 3D printable objects. I was going to say objet d'art, objet d'art for you to print off.
That'd be wonderful, yeah.
So they've. What I think is really cool about this is that they've sort of stepped away from doing stuff that is kind of adjacent to maybe Age of Sigmar factions or 40k factions. And they've gone down a little bit like they did with the Halloween stuff last year of creating a really fun sort of steampunky collection of miniatures for you to dive into and have some fun with. John has already been looking at some of these and picked out a few favorites of his own. It's the big lady with the gun, as you might have imagined it would be. There she is.
Nice, yeah.
Marquita Mendoza. So this is a collection of really cool steampunky characters that have got a sort of like pulpy horror twist to them as well, which is really nice. Drawing on sort of themes and ideas from steampunk literature and games and things that we all know and love, and then bringing them together to create a really fun and interesting collection of miniatures for you to use on the tabletop. Maybe if you're playing a lot of role-playing games or something like that, these would be pretty good for that. There's a lot of other skirmishy games out there that would be great.
In Her Majesty's name.
In Her Majesty's name would be a perfect option for you to use for these.
That would be fantastic for these.
Yeah, and what's quite nice about the range is that it kind of brings together a really nice collection of that kind of organic and the synthetic at the same time.
Yeah.
So you have all the skin and stuff on show, but then you have all of the mechanical bits and pieces, and the synthetic bits and pieces. You do have a Mandroid as well. But yeah, there's enough here. Sorry,
is the range for the pre-Heresy?
Yeah. Well, there you go. Yes, it is. Yeah.
Wouldn't that be awesome? Rocking up to the tabletop with this to fight.
That'd be a perfect opportunity. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you'd land on this planet.
That is gorgeous. That centerpiece. Yeah. That's beautiful.
So just like all the rest of the stuff that they do with their Heroes Infinite campaigns, you're going to have this sort of basic tier. I say basic. The basic tier comes with a whole bunch of stuff, and then the Overlord tier comes with a whole bunch of extra stuff on top of that, including Astrid with no hat. But you have some really cool bits and pieces in there for you to put together really cool armies and all sorts of encounters.
And a chameleon.
And a chameleon.
Terra chameleon.
Oh, with Marquita riding it as well.
Why is he not printing that out?
Yeah.
It should be.
Yeah, it's a really nice sort of one-stop shop of awesome stuff for steampunk worlds for you to dive into and have fun with, I think. And for a pretty basic price as well, you can get some really nice pieces
to put together
and print off. As you've seen over the last couple of weeks and months, we've been talking about Raging Heroes and working with them, showing off what they do with their 3D printing and that kind of thing. And they have been at it for a while and they know what they're doing. So if you're interested in diving into the world of 3D printing, I can't think of anything better than having a pop at maybe some steampunk adventures with this month's releases. So there you go.
Sweet, like candy.
Love that.
And yeah, I like the fact that it's not just GW adjacent.
I
for
agree.
once.
Yes.
I mean, presumably somebody's looking at that now going, but like Mechanicum.
You could use it for
you could use
Mechanicum.
it for that.
Yeah. You could use it for Cities of Sigmar if you wanted, I suppose, as well.
Why waste your time when you can play something else with them?
Like you said, Ben, about Halloween, I really liked their they had their gods and goddesses as well. All of the ones that do different, do Raging Heroes, I tend to love.
It's very cool. So if you fancy giving some steampunk goodness, getting involved in a bit Victorian sci-fi maybe, check out Heroes Infinite this month.
Yeah.
And who knows, John may be showing off his elite printing skills as he has surpassed.
We have tasked him with things. We shall see if he delivers. We shall see.
Yeah.
So.
Time will tell.
Anything, John.
We're going to wrap up the show with a couple of campaigns.
Yeah.
I say campaigns because, not Kickstarters.
Actually, none of these are Kickstarters.
Yeah, none of these are Kickstarters. So where's our crowdfunding eyeball viewing today?
So we swivel round our eyeball of awesomeness to look at the Blacksite backroom, first of all, because Blacksite Studios, who will know from creating games such as Don't Look Back and Luna, are bringing their fantasy world of Yafsiga to life on the tabletop. You may have seen this emblazoned on the top of our website recently as well. So this is a really cool new skirmish game that uses 28 to 32 millimeter miniatures. You make small warbands of characters, somewhere between 5 and 10 miniatures in total, and then you fight it out in this strange, weird, and ethereal sort of bloom that engulfs this fantasy world. And as is often the way with these kind of skirmish games, you'll be entering into this bloom with your band of adventurers, either tied to a different to a nation, or maybe just fighting for themselves as mercenaries, in order to collect strange relics and all sorts of different things from within it, and carve out your own little piece of a kingdom in a very sort of psychedelic world, which I think is really cool.
That's awesome.
The game is really awesome in that it uses no dice. So it's all card driven, which I really, really enjoy.
Yeah.
All your characters and the other members of your warband are tied to the face cards in a deck of poker cards. So you'll have aces, which will activate certain characters. Same for kings, queens, jacks, and then you've got jokers that will allow you to activate whatever you want within your warband, which is really cool. So you have 2 per set, which is really nice. And then all combat is then done by the flip of cards in a deck, which I think is really fun as well, which is really cool. And sort of lends that kind of like bluffing element of things, which I think is always nice to see when it comes to games. The actual setup of games themselves is really nice as well, because it's all done through a series of decks. So you have a deck that decides the setup, you have a deck that decides your objective, one that decides sort of like your side missions and things that you need to do, and then sort of other twists and turns along the side of it as well. So it's got a really nice feel to it, where it kind of like sets up like an unfolding narrative as you set up to play a game, which is really cool. And it should mean that no two game is quite the same, which I think is really nice. The game itself comes with a set of 28 or 32 millimeter miniatures for you to play around with. You can buy the tier 2 set, comes with the 2 warbands already in it, alongside all the rules and the gubbins and all that kind of thing as well. But as this is a sort of pre-ordery, Kickstarter-y style campaign, there are stretch goals added to this as well. And that includes a bunch of free miniatures alongside add-ons at the same time too. So you've got, as you can see there, the 3 different tiers. Tier 1 is the rulebook and the gubbins. So if you just wanted to dive in and play the game and you already have a bunch of miniatures, maybe you have a massive collection of Frostgrave figures. Perfectly good way to start playing the game. Just use those. Tier 2 throws in the 2 different warbands. So you've got the Telegrad warband and the Tiger clan warband as well there, which are looking very different. One of them slightly more focused on the martial side of things, and then the other has a really cool spellcaster leading the way as well, which is quite nice. And then you have tier 3, which takes you to the next level and throws in some really cool stuff for holding all of your cards as you're playing the game. You get a game mat, you get the terrain piece and all that kind of thing as well. I should point out that the game is only played on 2x2 space. So you don't need a massive amount of room to play the game. It's all very close quarters, very sort of lots of tight engagement between people, and sort of planning out how you're going to do your moves ahead of time and that kind of thing as well. So it's got a really nice feel of just sort of instant clashes and instant fun effectively on the tabletop, which is always good to see. There's some really cool miniatures in the set as well that's already been unlocked. So obviously you've got the models that we see there. There's some that are on their webpage that I think are well worth. They're called the Corrupted Chalice Knights. If you can find them, Jerry, back on their normal page.
I will do my utmost.
I think
I will just scroll down because they're in the stretch goals, but unless there's a bigger picture of them in the miniatures.
There should be an option to buy them because there is add-ons, you see, for over on their page. But anyway, so the game of Yafsiga looks really, really fun and awesome. They've been doing a couple of gameplay videos recently over the last little while, where they've sort of talked through things. So there's been an introduction to the world, and there's been a sort of breakdown of how the there you go. There's the challenge lines. If you scroll down to the bottom, Jerry, there's you can open up all the different stores,
can you?
stores and things. Yeah. So keep going as I talk. But yeah, it looks really awesome. There you go. Corrupted Chalice Knights on the left. If you are someone who loves sludge and that kind of thing, and Turnip 28, these are perfect. They're sort of weird bloom-infested characters that are sort of going out to kick ass and take names.
They're lovely.
Yeah. But because the game plays so quickly and has this card-based mechanic, it's played on a small space. You have a small collection of miniatures to play the game with. I think this could be another big standout skirmish hit for a lot of people. You know, if you're out there playing the likes of Frostgrave and Rangers of Shadow Deep and all those kind of stuff, and you want something a little bit different to play, using those same models or maybe something a little bit new, then you can sort of drift over to this and give this a shot as well. I should say that there are obviously, this is an American company, so shipping over to the UK and Europe tends to be a little expensive, but they have been doing some nice things to work out shipping options and that kind of thing. And they have got stockists now over in the UK for things like Don't Look Back and things. So hopefully, when this game becomes available to everybody, you'll be able to pick it up over here in the UK and the EU a lot easier as well. So yeah,
I really like these.
They're very
so cool and weird, aren't they?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What are they hiding under there?
They've got a Dune thing.
Many Jezreel. I was thinking that.
Yeah.
They have all the hallmarks of creepy people who need to be staked down and then set on fire. It's the only way to deal with them.
That's the way to go.
Yeah, but I like that. I like the way Blacksite Studio sort of run it, similar to the Next Starters, where it's a pre-order system. It saves them having to go through another website and give them a cut, whereas they can just be doing this all in-house, and by building up the pre-orders, it's going to be fulfilled, and they know exactly what they have to do and can supplement it in their own way then. So it's nice to see. And it worked very well for Lunar. Which had some amazing stuff in there.
Really good if you want to go smashing other astronauts apart with hammers.
Every time
and mining moon rocks at the same time.
I keep wanting to read that back to front, the Yagsifa or whatever it is, because it looks like one of those an anagram that reads
Agisfe.
Fronted upside down type thing. But anyway,
there was a really funny thing when it came to that. They were talking about why they chose the name Yafsiga. And it was like, well, we'll just write down this name and it sounds good. And then they had to painstakingly search the internet to make sure it wasn't a curse word in some language.
Foreign language,
yeah, can you imagine?
I wouldn't worry about it. The internet will tell you if it is. Fear not. But so still plenty of time to get on board with that. Another 14 days left.
14 days from the time you're looking at this, So.
And like you say, if you've already got a range of fantasy,
grab the rules and have fun,
that you think would work for it, like some sort of big nose goblins, then maybe this is
the Jerry may or may not have got this.
I may have quite a lot of them. I love the idea that it's, what if Pink Floyd had written a fantasy game? That's kind of the vibe I'm getting off it.
But I think that opens up the gamut for kind of like really awesome terrain and effects and things.
Paintwork would be really interesting. You
could splash all those different colours over things. And I know you love making really quirky and weird terrain free, so that'd be something that would be like your alley and things. So.
Yeah.
We look forward to see what Free comes up with for it then in the next couple of weeks.
Make it now.
Just throw a gallery, it's fine.
Next up then, we are going back in time to, the early Middle Ages or the Dark Ages, if you prefer, and I do, with Bretwalda from Phalanx. As of the time of filming, it hasn't launched yet. It is going to be running for 3 weeks, though, so you've got plenty of time to get involved with it. But if you're unaware, the premise behind it is area control as people attempt to become the Bretwalda, the king of kings in Britain, although this is Proto-Britain, so I'm not sure what it was called before it was called Britain. Albion, isn't that what the Romans called it? Let's go with the Albion. This is the formation of England as a whole. So you stop off short of the Scots, because nobody ever wants to go over that wall. But you have a massive game board as each person takes on the role of a faction leader of one of the smaller kingdoms within England and Wales, and they have to contend with feasts, famine, Viking raids, and the unusual armies of other factions coming to deal with them. As you play through seasons. So each year is divided into 4 seasons where you have to try and harvest your land, prepare for the upcoming winter, and move your forces into a better position to protect yourself and also to encroach on your neighbor, all the while sort of keeping one eye out for what other people are doing, because the whole time you can be gaining points, and the first person to hit a set number, depending on the amount of players in the game, automatically becomes the Bretwalda. You don't have an end of turn to deal with. You just automatically get it. So some people might get it for area control. Some people might get it for a lot of battles in one phase. You may get it for money or stockpiling or alliances forged. So it plays out in an interesting little way.
Nice asymmetry to it as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And you also have the various forces within your faction, which have a very Lewis Chessman aesthetic to the miniatures as well.
Yeah. I think the graphic design for the game is amazing.
Gorgeous.
Gorgeous, isn't it? Oh, I like these little pizzas all over the table.
So those are based on one of the Sutton Hoo brooches, which then become your victory points. So even though you may come in and claim it, somebody else may take it back off you later on. But those are your victory points to see who becomes the High King of these United Lands.
I'd feel proper posh if I was playing that game. It looks like fine dining,
around. No, I'm having
doesn't it?
It's gorgeous. Out. Some stained glassy. I love that.
Yeah, it's
I like
pause
that there because that hurts my head. I don't know why companies do this, and if you're watching this, companies, don't do that. Don't speed up the animation, because all it does is make me want to lie down for a little while. I can't see what's going on. But we actually played through. James came over and played with
Let's Play,
yeah, Shay, Justin, and myself.
Have we published that?
Yep.
Yeah, it's up on the internet.
Happy days.
So you can have a look and see. Now, what I will say is, it is prototype. So even when we were playing it, there were some things we were talking about, and after we finished, that there were things that may change. So, for example, the Vikings I found were a bit passive, and also the Viking maneuver took a little bit long because there's a lot of alliance forging going on between the people around the table, and then also you can then, if you've got money, you're bidding for essentially to keep the Vikings away, or bidding for the Raiders to go to somebody else and cause them issues. So while this Let's Play is about 90% there, some things may change between this and the final iteration, but that's something that they'll be talking to people with on the campaign anyway. I was saying, I think the Viking Raiders should be a bit more devastating when they came in, because they came in on a coast and then just sort of sat there and didn't really cause any disruption because of the
farming,
mechanics.
Jerry.
they were very much farming, and it wasn't causing any detrimental issues to the person on that coast. So we were talking about things like that with James. He was saying that maybe instead of people bidding to see where they go, might just go for a card turn, and it will say what area they land in. And I was saying, well, if they're gonna hit a coast, and they put out the little tokens that stop you from getting your hands on taxation from that area, but it only really works if you are attempting. So these black tokens here, the raiding tokens, it only really works if you're attempting to tax without men in the area. And out of everybody on that table, I was the only one who was doing it, and I was on the other coast, so it had no effect at all. I was saying, you know what? How about it takes away from your treasury? So if you don't deal with the Viking Raiders on your coast, then you're losing money. Not that they're not allowing you to collect, but
I think I've worked it out. I think I've worked it out. I think that the V and the I were rotated.
Right.
Okay, so they weren't actually Vikings. They were forkings. Forking useless.
That makes sense. I'm 100% on board with that.
That's very witty. That's good.
But yeah, it's a
I
terrific.
don't know if I need to put a note in for that one.
I don't think you do. So, like I say, it's interesting asymmetric area control, and there's a lot going on in it. But at the same time,
really good fun. Yeah,
it's a very easy and accessible game to pick up. I think within like 10 minutes, we'd more or less got down pat what you needed to do and how the things played out. So you can play these massive, grand, sweeping games in a very tight area in a very short amount of time. So interesting to see how it pans out and various ways to win. In some cases, you may think you're on the cusp, as I was on multiple occasions, and then my dice rolls did what my dice rolls always do: let me down massively. It's like, I can win this turn. Oh, next turn. I can win this turn. Oh, maybe next turn. Oh, I've lost. Oh, well, okay.
Well, I saw the game many moons ago at a convention and was like, what is this? And I'm really glad that it's finally coming to the point where it can get published. So
yeah, 100%. And there are apparently going to be a few extra little bits and bobs thrown into the campaign that they haven't announced. I know. You don't. I do. If you ask me, yeah, I am. I am such a tease. If you ask me nicely in the comments, maybe I'll tell you if they haven't been announced yet, because I think they're going to do them as unlocks throughout the campaign. But there you
Happy days.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
So on that note, folks, I think that wraps us up for another week. We are going to head on, but we shall return on Sunday.
We shall be back. Yes.
XLBX.
Definitely come over, take a free trial, and come in, because I'm going to blow Free's mind with the most incredible fact in the universe.
Oh, really excited.
Wow.
You've really upsold this now. Wow, okay.
And if not, we will be back again next Friday to bring you up to date with everything across the tabletop industry. Don't forget, if you want to win that Horus Heresy massive bundle, comment
by
below.
Gods, yes.
And
that's a lot of stuff.
There's some stuff, yeah.
And if you want to see a lot of stuff,
a massive box,
you can go across to our prize claim center and see whether or not you won anything from the expo, because we had a ton of prizes in the live blog that we never even touched on. So they will all be sitting there. And if you see your name, you can claim your prize. But until next time, have a great week of gaming. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Go ahead and check out our other content on screen now. And while you're at it, why not hit subscribe and remember to ding our dong. Go on, you know you want to click it. Go on.